There's an emotional component to being inside of a courtroom for everyone, from the plaintiffs, the jury, obviously the defendant. Can you give us a sense of how that's shifted over the last year?
First and foremost, coming to a courthouse can be a daunting, intimidating prospect. And we have always recognized that and have always understood that. And I think that the pandemic just has added a layer of concern for those folks who are already concerned about coming to the building. We work very hard to make sure that it's obvious to those who come into the building that it is a safe environment. We take measures overtly. What we're doing is very obvious and very visual so that people know that when they come into the building that it is as safe as it possibly can be.
So you have had virtual events. I mean, trials have been conducted via the internet. Is that correct?
Well, we've had hearings conducted via Teams. We use the Office 365 version of Teams, and we found that that's a very helpful, useful tool for a variety of types of hearings that we're able to conduct now. We have not done any trials. We have via uh, virtual presence or platform.
When we talk about trials, then I imagine that means there's a backlog since you've essentially lost maybe a year's worth of work.
Well, I've asked our bench presiding judges who have a lot of responsibility and autonomy to keep an eye on what I call their inventory of cases. And what they tell me is that there isn't a huge avalanche of cases coming our way. We've been able to manage our case flow through this virtual platform, through the cooperation of a lot of our stakeholders in the legal community and in the community. And so when you talk about a trial backlog, I don't think there's a huge tsunami coming our way. Bear in mind, too, that traditionally in the last generation or two here, we haven't tried as many cases as perhaps societally we did 3 or 4 generations ago. Our trial rate at about a year and a half ago on the criminal bench was about 4%, and our civil trial rate was under 1%. So we continue to try to resolve as many cases as we can through alternative dispute resolution.
You are attempting to regain some normalcy and bring people back into the building. So describe to us what will be different this time around.
Well, we knew a year ago going into the pandemic that someday, at some point in time, we'd be back to normal. And so we instituted a back to operations task force, and that group worked diligently and very hard to get us to where we are now. And that is to say, we are using social distancing. We have panels up all over the courtrooms. We're making sure that folks are not in a position where they're too close to one another. And in doing that, we had to really think outside the proverbial box. For example, historically, jurors sat together, kind of squished together, if you will, in a jury box. What we've done, especially here in this larger ceremonial courtroom that I'm in right now, is we've removed the first two couple of rows of seating so that we can place jurors in alternate places. So we've got jurors kind of spread out in the courtroom. We moved attorneys off to the side to accommodate social distancing requirements. That's just one of our examples.
If a juror is uncomfortable with being back in a public venue, such as a courtroom, will they have the opportunity to opt out?
Sure. Yeah, what we've told people all along is if you're uncomfortable, just let us know and we will reschedule you for jury duty. We didn't really know, even going into that part of the process, how that would be received. Some thought that perhaps we would have nobody say, I'll be a juror, stand up and be a juror. And then others opine quite the opposite. What we have found is that folks feel very strongly about serving the community and serving on a jury. And while we have had a number of folks say they're just not quite comfortable yet, and we've gladly put them back into the mix for a later date, we've had really good, really strong turnout from our jurors. I might also add, we continue to have grand juries and panel grand juries during this time. And again, the feedback we've gotten from them has been positive.
As you move forward, what metrics will you be looking at to potentially make a decision about scaling back or ramping up?
Well, we're going to work closely with the Chief Justice, and we're going to look at the data, keep an eye on the science. We have a good partnership with the county health department, with county administration. I will tell you from day one, the Chief Justice has been very involved in ensuring as best he can that the courts, again, are safe while keeping the doors open for business. And he has maintained a custom of having a biweekly pandemic Zoom meeting. We've continued to do that. We've done that here locally too, internally. And again, we've maintained close contact with the health department. So we're looking at all the data, all the science, and that's what we'll use to decide when it's time to move forward.
Judge Kyle Bryson, the presiding court judge of Pima County Superior Court, thank you for your insight.
Thank you. My pleasure. Have a nice day.